Hey YouTubers, long time no see, and I'm actually back with some photography content. And this time it's going to be a little bit different topic for me. As you know, if you are a subscriber, I've covered Leica gear, Hasselblad gear, etc. But I also like to just fool around with inexpensive stuff that could be fun to play with, like older lenses and so forth. And by this I mean older lenses for my Sony A-mount Alpha cameras. And in this case, what I'm going to talk about is this lens. This is a Sigma 400mm f5.6. I believe this was made in the mid to late 80s. I guess you'd pay anywhere between $150, maybe $100 and $200 for one of these. I paid, I think, $160 on eBay. I put in a bid, I believe, of $175 and won the auction. And really I got it because I had sort of played around with a 70 to 300 Sony zoom lens for the Alpha mount cameras, or the A-mount cameras. And while it's a super nice lens, really nice, it's ultra heavy. So I started hunting around for a 400mm prime lens, and that's what landed me on this little baby. Now this lens is autofocus. This is from the early days of autofocus lenses, and it has a manual focus ring. You can move this little sleeve out of the way and get to that. The autofocus is decent. It's fast enough for my use. The thing about this lens is that it is really an f8 lens. So the maximum aperture is f5.6, but really the lens doesn't do very well until f8. In terms of features, it does have, which I like this, it's got an attached sliding lens hood. It's got a non-rotating front element, so you can put a polarizing filter on it and it won't rotate on you. It also has a tripod mount built into it, so that's nice, and it's a locking one, so you can adjust the yaw of your camera. And it works pretty well, locks in nice and tight. So in terms of size, I'll just go ahead and mount it. It's easier to put the lens on, I found, if you take the rear cap off. And just want to put this on so you get a feel for the size of the lens on the camera. I would say that it's roughly comparable, if you're a Canon shooter, to the Canon 70 to 200 f4 IS lens. It hits me that it's kind of about that weight. Balances on the camera pretty well, and as I said, shooting on a monopod, I found it to be really easy to steady it up and feel really solid with it. With these lenses, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. I've read some downsides on these. One is they've got plastic focusing gears inside, and apparently the digital cameras have fairly strong high torque motors, and sometimes it can happen that the teeth in the gears will strip because they're plastic. So that's something to keep in mind. So don't pay too much for one of these things. The other thing is, I've seen here and there that there's a chip in this lens. I've heard that it may not work that well on some modern cameras. It's working okay on this one. So this is an A900. I haven't tried it on my A55. You might want to read around a bit before you just dive in on one of these. I bought this because the guy said he had tried it and it worked fine. Now I've been waving this lens around attached to a Sony A-mount body. That doesn't mean that's all you can shoot one of these on. It's a Sigma, and they made them in multiple mounts, so you'll probably be able to find this for your Canon or your Nikon. So keep that in mind as you're looking at the photos. It should perform the same on any of the other mounts. It's just that I have Sony. Let's move to the computer, and I'll show you some of my results, and I'll demonstrate sort of how this is really an f8 lens.